Previously, we've looked at how certain characters work off-camera, such as various Resident Evil antagonists and the alien from Alien Isolation. However, today we'll be exploring something darker. This is Amnesia: The Bunker, and we're uncovering how the Beast works off-camera. From behind the scenes to Out of Bounds secrets, we'll be descending deep into what the game doesn't want you to see. If you enjoy behind the scenes discoveries and Out of Bounds secrets, I've covered games such as Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty and many more. Links can be found in the description, as well as information on my custom camera tools that I use. The game begins with gunfire and chaos as Henry dives into a trench, but look closely with a camera tool and things start to get weird fast. Henry doesn't have a head, or at least not one you can see. This isn't a bug, it's actually a clever trick and one we've seen in previous videos. His head is there, it's just invisible to stop the camera from clipping through it and showing, well, the inside of his skull, which would be extra horrifying. But yes, the head is there, it's just not textured and completely hidden. Interestingly, looking at this, we also get to see something that we can't normally see, which is Henry's number on his uniform, number 33, something I don't think is mentioned in the game. As we make our way through the trench, gunfire suddenly erupts, but just in time, our comrade Augustine jumps in to cover us before charging ahead. But if you've ever wondered where he actually comes from, or where he runs off to, let's find out. Once Augustine vanishes, he actually leaves behind his rifle. Most likely it's a leftover from how the game handles objects, not fully set up to remove it when he despawns. Still, a cool little detail you're not meant to see. Here's a clever little dev trick, one we've seen in other games too. At first glance, the moon looks like it's far up into the night sky, but take the camera over for a closer look and surprise, it's actually a lot closer than you'd think. A classic perspective illusion. Peering down into the pit, we find Augustine, and yeah, he's not looking too great. What follows is a key cutscene, but let's check it out from a completely different angle and see what the game doesn't normally show you.
Drink this, then I'm going to get you out of here. I'll get you back to safety. Just hold on to me.
After that intense opening, things go from bad to worse. We wake up alone in a vast underground bunker, cold, silent and nearly abandoned. The developers nailed the atmosphere here, making the place feel truly isolated, and this is where the real horror begins. One of the only survivors is this guy. He hands us his revolver, asking us to finish the job. Now you do have a choice, but either way the outcome is the same. However, we're going to need it because right after this moment we get our first glimpse of the nightmare waiting for us in the dark. Here is the scene again, but I'm gonna show it with some added lighting so we can get a better look at what's happening here. It's once we venture deeper into the bunker that the real fear sets in. From this point on, making too much noise can draw out the beast, crawling from the tunnels within the walls, ready to hunt us down. As I mentioned earlier, if you've been following the channel, you've probably seen my breakdowns of other Stalker type enemies like Lady D from Resident Evil 8 or the alien from Alien Isolation. Some of these enemies follow fixed patrol paths, only breaking off when they detect the player. Others take a more unpredictable approach. All my testing here was done on normal difficulty, and from what I've seen, the beast falls into the more random category. Once it's out in the open, it doesn't seem to stick to a set path, but unlike other Stalker enemies, it doesn't linger. It prefers to retreat back into the walls fairly quickly, especially when the player is in a safe spot on the map. Here's what's happening when you see the beast entering or exiting the map through one of its many tunnel entrances. Now, most people would assume it just spawns in and out, though there is a little more to it than that, which I'll explain soon. Also, every now and then, if you're lucky or unlucky, you might spot a hand reaching out, feeling around. In those rare moments, the beast is actually suspended just behind the wall, hovering in place before slipping away again. To show you exactly what's going on, I attach the camera directly to the beast so we can follow its movements in real time. What's unsettling is, it doesn't exactly just despawn. Off camera, those distant thuds, the scraping in the walls and above you in the ceiling, the sounds that make you want to spin around thinking something's right behind you, that is the beast moving. It's not just an ambient sound effect. What's happening behind the scenes is this. Once the beast exits the map, its model turns completely invisible, but by forcing it to stay visible, well, I uncovered something pretty grotesque. Here's how it really looks behind the scenes, and now that we can see it clearly, we get a proper look at how it moves through the environment while staying completely hidden from the player. Of course, the beast turns invisible to stop players seeing moments like this. And even while I was kind of expecting it during filming, I won't lie, it scared the crap out of me a couple of times when it suddenly popped out from around a corner. Now, you may be wondering, what happens when you move to a different area of the bunker, like the soldiers' quarters or prison? A new part of the map loads in? Sure, but what about the beast? Is there a separate version for each zone? Actually, no. It's always the same beast model. It just takes longer to traverse across the void between sections to reach you. So wherever you go, the same beast is still coming. Alright, let's move on to some out of bounds finds. To be honest, most of what I came across were leftover or duplicate assets. Nothing too wild, but it does look pretty cool seeing how the lighting works when everything's powered on, especially in the areas where the beast is lurking. Now, something that did catch my attention when I took the camera out of bounds of what we hope is the bunker's exit, there was more out here than I expected, and as far as I can tell, not much of this is visible during normal gameplay. But the most intriguing find, this body tucked in the corner of the locker room. Underneath it, there's a completely separate character model hidden, albeit much more intact. It made me wonder, was this a scrapped version left out here to be removed? Or maybe it's still active somehow and changes mid-game when a specific trigger is hit. Heading up to the pillbox now, and once again, there's not a lot out of bounds that you can't already see just by looking around normally, although fair warning, raise your head too high and you might catch some incoming fire. But here's a fantastic little detail I noticed. If you pick up a random object, such as this box, and place it in the pillbox opening, nothing really happens, but swap that for a helmet, and suddenly the enemy opens fire. It's a clever touch by the devs, and honestly, I love seeing small interactions like this in games. Getting towards the end now, we enter the haunted Roman tunnels, and down here you'll get glimpses of these ghastly entities roaming around. Get too close and they'll disappear from view. However, with the camera detached, we can watch the paths that they take. Every now and again, some of them becoming stuck in a loop. One of the only other characters we meet throughout the game is based down here. This is Beau Foy. There's a lot of backstory tied to him, which I won't dive into here. And like before, it's up to you how things play out. But what I did want to look at is what happens when he fires his shotgun at the player. Behind that bright muzzle flash, he seems to vanish. So I attach the camera to his position, and as you'll see, he doesn't actually disappear. Instead, he's instantly relocated to another part of the map. We're getting closer and closer to the end now, entering this final cavern where the goal is to make it across to the other side. But what really had me curious is what happens when you fall into the pit below. And even more interesting, what happens if you drop the beast into it? It turns out, instead of crashing to the bottom like the player does, the beast just keeps falling, and falling, way below the map, deep into the void, before finally vanishing. It's a long drop. Depending on the choices you make in the cavern, the final cutscene can play out slightly differently. For this video, I let the beast run free. Though in case you are wondering, it doesn't actually go that far. But what did catch me off guard, no pun intended, was the ending. When you hear the soldiers running towards you, I expected it just to be a few light effects beyond the camera's reach. Turns out, there are actual soldier models up there. Possibly because it's easier to attach lights to a character than have them floating independently. Though, yikes. These guys are terrifying up close. Honestly, maybe you're safer inside the bunker after all. Or maybe not.